Good afternoon, everyone. This is Doug from AR Watch, and we are on day 2 of Expedition Alaska, and we have some major updates for you today. There's a lot that happened overnight while we all slept, while the racers were still racing into the night and through the night on this long pack raft slash trek section where there were a lot of different route choices and things. We talked a little bit to Hunter and Nick yesterday during the time that some of the top teams were getting into the pack raft section off of the first bike. Um, and I'm hoping to be joined by Jeff live from the race. He is at the TA2 where racers are getting done with the pack raft section. Um, but let's go ahead and I'm gonna try to screen share here and show you a little bit of what has gone on while we're kind of waiting for this to happen. So, um, all right. So, as you can see on the tracker, the teams are very, very spread out right now. They have moved around a lot. They basically, sorry, I'm just trying to work on something right now. So they are moving. They have moved all through the night. It took Team Bones just under 12 hours to finish that pack rafting slash trekking section. They did go after the major checkpoint number 7 over here, which was in Grant Lake, and we weren't sure kind of what that was going to look like and how many teams were going to do it. I will tell you that as of right now, only 3 teams decided to go after that. So if we click on Team Bones, you can kind of see their route. They came up and across the first lake. They moved uh, down the trail here, came into the lower trail lake, got into the lower trail lake, decided to come down a little bit and then go up and over and back down. We talked to Hunter yesterday about what that looked like and how steep that really is. So I'm sure that they had fun trying to figure out what they were going to do when they were going to put their pack rafts back in the water. Did they carry them up and down those big mountains? That'll be questions that we'll get to ask later on. But as of right now, they went up and over and came back. They went up and got the CP up here where currently Florida Extreme is, and then made it back. They transitioned decently quick, but not as quick as Warrior did, according to my people on the ground. And they have moved out. And I will tell you what was interesting. And if you look here, so Bones had about an hour and a half on Warrior coming out of that transition. But I don't know if they're having trouble right now. But this is not the kind of tracking line that you normally see from one of the lead teams without having some sort of navigational issues. Maybe they didn't get the checkpoint, maybe they did, and now they're looking for the trail that continues. But this is a little bit of a back and forth. And that's given Warrior, as you can see here, time to close that gap a little bit. And so they are catching up. We'll see what the time gap is once they get to this point. It looks like they got to that CP10 about 8:39 um, local Alaska time, and they will see what time Warrior gets there. They still have a little bit to go. Reminder on these trackers is the tracker only pings every 10 minutes. So if that 10 minutes was not in the time when that you see it right now, like we might get the tracker moving as we're sitting here talking. Warrior was looking really good. I was told they had a super fast transition. They were in and out, no fuss, no muss. And then in third, what you see right now in third place is Team Ranger up. Now we're gonna have an update that I'm waiting for the race director Jeff to come on. So we'll see what they have. Now, Ranger Up decided not to go after CP7. So they are not a full course team right now. And the team right behind them that is decided to take a um nap in the TA. They took an hour and a half nap in this TA is ThisAbility. And ThisAbility did go up and over and get CP7 so that they are full course. So right now, the top three are Bones, Warrior, and ThisAbility. And ThisAbility was about 2 hours behind Warrior coming into that TA. Now they're taking an hour and a half nap. We'll see how that nap it reinvigorates them and how they are able to push through after taking this nap. It might make them a whole lot faster in this trekking section where the other teams have been going for 24 hours now and might be a little bit more sluggish. That just shows you, I mean, ThisAbility are no slouches when it comes to doing multi-day events. And that Alaska wilderness and the weather there is zapping them to the point where they decided early on to take a nap, which I mean, I think sometimes you have to prioritize that sleep so that you can go a little bit faster in other sections. So maybe the cold and wetness of, being on the water all night has affected them. Now, what I will say is, uh, Go Live Adventure, Go Live Adventure, they skipped a couple points on this paddle section. So they skipped 7 and 8. Um, we have, Mad Cow, who also did the same thing. My guess is they're ready to be off the water, which I don't blame them. Um, Florida Extreme skipped 7, but they just went up and got 8. We have Breaking Butterflies that are moving their way up. They've skipped 7. We'll see if they go after 8. And then behind them, we've got a couple of teams. We have 5060 Adventure, which they had an adventure in this section. And then Fragile Flowers, which I want to show you Fragile Flowers route because it looks like they decided not to paddle across this first lake and instead come around on the road and walk the road around the lake. And we'll see if that pays off. If maybe, it was too dark and they did not want to be on that water overnight. But they're moving pretty good now. Coast to Coasters, look, they are moving their way up. They, continue to just keep plugging away and keep moving forward. And in a 5-day adventure race, that's really all you can ask for is forward movement. Um, so somebody had asked me on one of the posts if Breaking Butterflies had hit CP4 again. It's funny because like their tracker here, if you look at how it's pulled up, it doesn't have them hitting 1, 2, 3, or 4, but it looks like they hit all of them. And so that'll be something that Mark Harris will fix on the backside. I would imagine that they did hit this section. Um, and hold on, I'm getting a message from Jeff to join us. So I'm trying to get him on here so that he can join in and
Recording in progress.
sorry, that was very, very loud. I'm trying to send him the link and it thought that I was trying to copy on it. So all right, now here's Jeff. Jeff should be added now.
Even better.
What's up, buddy?
I don't know. What's going on with you?
Hey, listen, we were giving an update on where teams were. You look nice and warm and you're puffy.
Yeah, it's nice and chilly here, but we sorry about that being late. We were dealing with issues as always.
That's all right.
We had I could dive right into why. So team 5060, and have you looked at their tracker? Have you saw the zigzag and the chaos that's happened there?
I was just about to cover that they had an adventure, because it looks like they got up to a point, then went up to the upper lake, came back down. I mean, like, it's been all over the place. Oh, all right, we're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. We lost the signal there for a second.
Okay. Yeah, so they were all over the place. What was going on?
So that is a
While we're waiting for that to come back, I'm going to pull that up, so that everybody can kind of see.
connection again.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just
All
pulling up
right.
the tracker so you could see it.
All right.
All right, so the tracker, they came up past CP6. Looked
Okay.
like they had
Yeah.
got the first time.
You see where they are right now?
Yes.
They're back in the same spot they were in 5 hours ago.
Wow. And what happened? This is what happens when you go live from Alaska. Sometimes the phone service is really good, and sometimes it is spotty. Um, Hopefully we can get Jeff back here in just a second, but yeah, they were up here when Florida Extreme was there, and I think at least one other team was in this area. And now, for whatever reason, they are back in the same spot. And it looks like we lost Jeff. Hopefully he can reconnect, and we'll let him back in. And we'll hopefully get to hear from him what is going on there. Um, I was beginning to talk about what was going on with Breaking Butterflies. It looks like they did hit that checkpoint 4. I would imagine that maybe the tracker just didn't pick it up. I wouldn't imagine that they would skip that one, being so close to the trail that they were on. But we don't know. So we'll have to wait for the official. That's part of, when you're not on scene and you're not seeing exactly what's going on, you get to miss out. And Jesse Spangler and he was just messaging me about uh, what was going on with Team Bones, and it looks like they have now moved back up the trail. So I wonder if they just blew by the checkpoint. Um, I am working on trying to get the maps. It's difficult because all of the race director and everybody are there in Alaska, and I don't know if they have access to it. And with as many maps as there probably is in a 5-day race, it's not as easy to just get a photograph of the map. So we're kind of working off of what everyone else is working off as well. We can switch to the satellite view and kind of try to see a little bit more of what they're seeing in this area and how thick it is. That helped in the Google Earth thing early when Jeff from AR Insider was on. But it's really hard to tell what they are really seeing there. It looks like there's a couple trails that kind of go through that section. So it'll be interesting to see and to hear. Hopefully when they get to the next transition, maybe we can find out and get one of our people who are on scene to talk about what they were doing. So it's giving time for Warrior to catch up. I mean, they were, I think, right around here when we first started. So they're moving up. I mean, those little bobbles, right? Like, this was probably a 30-minute bobble. When you're up by an hour, hour and a half, like, that can change things at the front of the race. So we were talking about the other racers. Everybody's moving well. Like, including coast to coasters who are steadily making up ground and steadily moving forward. So I'm hoping to get Jeff back on here to talk about a couple of things. Um, you know, there are a lot of rules in adventure racing, and sometimes rules are gray and sometimes rules are very steady. And there's kind of no bending in those. So there have been a couple of rule discussions that have happened um, during this race. And so I'm going to wait for Jeff to really key in on those, but they are things that are kind of substantial for some of the teams. So, um, and some of the things we're still waiting for Jeff to be able to talk to teams as they get into the TAs to figure out what is going on. Um, but right now, everybody is going really good. I do want to also say for those of you that are watching, um, our original plan was to do a live broadcast at 2 and at 8 p.m. And well, I appreciate the fact that everybody is on here at 2 today. Like we've got about 18 or 20 people that are watching live right now, which is awesome. I think what we're going to do moving forward is the 2 o'clock is going to be a quick update. So it's going to be 15 to 30 minutes, 30 minutes max. And then 8 o'clock, we're going to go into in-depth kind of coverage of what has happened. And that will give us basically 24 hours to cover between posts. And I think with a race like this that is so far spread out, the 6 hours in between, well, I don't mind talking to you guys. I don't feel like it's beneficial for you to have to listen to me, within 6 hours of each other on a full race update. So moving forward, we're going to do 2 hours. Sorry, at the 2 o'clock, we're going to do just a brief 20 to 30-minute update. Hopefully, maybe get Jeff on for those to give any kind of updates like what we're hearing right now, and what we're trying to hear about like Team 5060 and like what's going on with things like that, where you're like, man, what is going on? Um, and then the 8 o'clock is going to be more in depth. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to be talking and discussing kind of what you're seeing in a little bit more detail. So we're going to do that moving forward. And I'm hoping to get Jeff back on. And it may just be a situation where I might just have to call him and see if maybe the phone situation was not working as good and I can put him um, on the phone, and let me see what I can do here.
Hey, Doug.
Hey man, so I decided to just try to call you if you were having connection issues. And
Yeah, our Starling went down for a minute here.
okay. I've got you on speaker right now, so people will be able to hear you if you want to kind of talk about it, and I can
Oh, okay.
pull up the trackers. So what's going on with 5060, first of all?
Okay, so one of the first obstacles in this race that we put in that was going to be, we knew was going to be a backbreaker, was the fact that you had to go from the lower trail lake up to the upper. All right. It just so happens to be the water's flowing the opposite direction. It's about a 1,000-meter bushwhack from the bottom of one lake to the top of the other. All right. So what's happened is teams have gone in there, and there is a feeder creek that comes in from the east, and it's swollen. So it looks like you can't cross it. But the trick is, if you go high enough, you'll cross right over it with no problems. But down low by the river, it's super running. So teams are in a pickle there, and they have to make a decision on how to figure out a way out. Well, 5060 is just not having any luck. And did I lose you?
No, I'm back. I'm here.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so they're just 5060s having no luck at all.
Yeah, that's a tough situation where you're back in the same spot that you were 5 hours ago. So
Yes.
so yeah, we just noticed a bobble in bones up near CP10.
That's 9. No, 10.
Yeah.
No, 9. 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10.
Yeah, it looks like they might have blown past the CP and had to backtrack.
Yeah.
Because
So that trail there again is that trail is pretty faint around the lake. It's pretty thick and overgrown. It doesn't really get used except in the wintertime. So teams are going to struggle with that one because as you turn north at the edge of the lake there, it is right there on the right hand side. But if you go too far, which is what Bones has done, they've actually their map kind of shows that there is a river or creek that comes down to the lake. It doesn't exist there anymore. Avalanches have changed that route where the river is, and that's the reason why teams are going to struggle with that one.
okay. Well, yeah, it's given Warrior a little chance to catch up.
Yeah.
They had about an hour and a half on them, I think, but that bobble could have cost them 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if they even got it yet. I haven't been watching the tractor to see if they're leaving now.
Yeah, it looks like they're moving north now. So
Okay,
that
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what Warrior does coming through there. Um, Speaking of maps, we're getting a lot of questions on the maps, and I know it's difficult. Is that do we have the ability to get those so that people
What
at
do you
home
mean?
can track other than just the tracker, so they can see what the racers are seeing?
Oh, it just readjusted. The satellite did. That's good. Oh shit, it's moving all over the place. All right. We should have a link now. What do you mean? I mean, I sent you the actual the CalTopo link, which you can then screenshot each area if you want to create the maps. Is that what you're asking, or the physical maps that they have?
Yeah, I didn't know if you had copies of the physical maps. I saw the CalTopo. We actually entered it into Google Earth for the first thing. Jeff did that from Air Insider, and it was awesome to be able to see. I I think people just wanted to kind of see the physical maps that they were looking at to see if they would have made the same choices.
Yeah, that CalTopo is the actual map they're looking at.
Okay.
So the CalTopo link that I sent you, it's just broken into smaller chunks, obviously,
Yeah.
for each section. But if you zoom into like 1 to 24, that's exactly what they're seeing.
Okay.
And I'll see what I can do about getting, again, connection out here is horrible. To download files and move them over and do all that crap out here in the middle of the jungle, or not the jungle, the bush, is it's really tough.
Yeah,
So,
no
see what
problem.
I can do. Yeah.
So I told people that I was going to wait for you to discuss some of the other things that were going on. So do you want to go ahead and
Yeah, let's knock it out while you have me.
all right. So tell me what is going on with Team Ranger Up. Did I lose you? Are you still there, Jeff? Oh, wait, he might be coming in. Let's see what we got. Yep, he hung up. Let's get him on the screen.
Yeah, it just switched over back to the video.
All right, welcome back. All
Yeah.
right. So I pulled up Team Ranger Up's tracker. So
Yes.
do you want to discuss, and I'll kind of
Yeah.
zoom in and
Yeah, we can discuss that.
okay.
So in the instructions and the pre-race meetings, we were very adamant about our Forest Service permit was based around there's absolutely no travel on the railroad track system here in Alaska, because that's the tourist owned railroad that runs back and forth from Seward um, to Alyeska and then up to Anchorage. It's not a high speed, train, but it moves pretty quickly. And the
Oh, froze a little bit.
the railroad itself, they didn't obviously want to give us liability of having somebody on those train tracks. So it was in the pre-race instructions, and it was also one of the rules. And what happened was that Team Ranger Up got into some trouble up there, exactly where 5060 is having trouble. Okay. One of their guys went into the water, got really, really super cold. They got him out, and they decided to move over. They tried to go west to see if they could get any way through that area. It just so happens to be that they picked the train tracks to do it.
And so what's going to be the result of that?
So what we did was we disqualified them for doing that, and they are now moving unranked through the course.
So just for people at home to understand, the only thing the disqualification does is move them to unranked. So they'll be ranked below everyone else who is an official participant in the race.
Correct.
But they're going to continue forward. They were very honest about what they did. They owned up to it, and they understood what the penalty was. And so that was difficult.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to make decisions for safety rather than for points. And so it looks like that's what they did in this case, and glad to see that they're still moving forward.
Right. I mean, unlike any other adventure race or expedition race, that we pretty much really want to get everybody through this course, and we're unhappy when a situation like this occurs where we have to disqualify a team on the first day after all it took to get here and the expenses that it took to get here. But we can't jeopardize our permits for future years, or I could be fined for if they were caught on those railroad tracks.
Right.
So in rules are put in place for a couple of reasons, for safety, and other reasons is that we don't own the land. We have to get permission to go certain places, or the road is just too dangerous. There's no bike lane. So we keep them off of those, areas, out of those areas for those reasons. And we just can't flex on those rules.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I know there was a discussion earlier about ThisAbility. Like I'm pulling their tracker now, down, it looks like they came really close to the railroad tracks just south of that location. But tell me what you were able to find out from them and confirm through their video.
Well, so ThisAbility got super, super lucky. So they made a nav error and they started heading west out of there after getting checkpoint. I believe it's 5.
After 5.
And was it 5? Yeah. And so they made a nav error and ended up coming down, and they saw the train tracks, and basically we're getting ready to bail out and go back the way they came. And there's actually a dirt road that runs by these houses off the railroad tracks to the east, about 100 meters. And they started following that, and it looked good. And they actually continued on all the way. That's the only dirt road that's next to the railroad tracks is in that section. So they really lucked out with having that opportunity to be able to use that dirt road. They stayed off of the train tracks, and they definitely stayed off of AK1, which is off limits as well. And they were able to get into the lake to the north and continue on.
Yeah, so they narrowly avoided a disqualification, which would have been super frustrating for them, but they've continued full course, and it looks like they just left the TA as well.
They banked a couple of hours of sleep. I think about an hour and a half of sleep. And banking, if you're not familiar with banking is just basically storing sleep, storing that rest that you can get now while you have the opportunity, while you're in a TA, while we have tents set up for you to sleep in, while it's warm, while you're also protected from the elements that are out there.
Yeah.
We're protecting you. And it's just more comfortable sleep to bank it now and get it in early. And then that way they can continue on for the next 24 hours without any sleep.
Well, and one of the other teams, so Mad Cow, you're going to be having a discussion with them here in a little bit, because it looks like they may have taken the off limits road as well, down here between 5 and 6.
Right.
And so you haven't been able to have that conversation yet, so no determination has been made. But for those of you
No.
that are watching at home and looking at trackers, just know that it looks like they're getting really close to the TA there where you are.
Yeah.
And then, that determination will be made later.
Yeah.
So I really hope that 5060 gets figures it out and figures out how to get back on the right track. It looks like Warrior is almost at CP10, and actually they have triggered CP10 on the tracker, but we can't tell if they actually got it yet. So hopefully they didn't have the same issue that Bones had in that section. Bones looks to be moving
Yeah.
really good again, and they're moving up towards CP11 and in that valley up there. So um, again, I already let everybody know that we're gonna kind of change the 2 o'clock to a brief thing, maybe 30 minutes at max, just to talk about any vital updates, and the 8 o'clock will be the in-depth. So I won't keep you on, Jeff. We're gonna wrap up. I thank you for coming on and explaining those things. I know those are tough decisions to have to make, during the race, but everyone knows the rules, and that
Yeah.
it's unfortunately, unfortunate that it had to happen, but I'm glad to see that they're moving forward, and Ranger Up is moving on, and looks like they're moving pretty good too. So
Yeah, that was a shame. They were definitely in third, up there with the top two teams. And to have that happen, in adventure racing, when something bad happens, you can't panic. You have to stop and sit down. Remember, it's a 5-day race. You have plenty of time. If they would have just took the time to really, oh God, you got me close up. If you really just take the time to evaluate what happened, figure out the issue, and don't make any snap judgments. Like, I think we've got to go out of here. We've got to break the rules to keep moving forward. No, you don't. You can just stop and figure it out. Definitely, that was one of the toughest bushwhacks that's going to be in this event. Because they were carrying their pack rafts through really thick stuff here. So, and that's the reason why it was there. It was definitely a hurdle, but it's the only way to get from the lower lake to the upper lake was that. So, you just got to keep moving slowly, even though it's crap. You got to just keep pushing because right up there is the opening somewhere. You just got to get to it.
yeah. Well, thank you for the update. We'll check
Yeah.
back with you at 8 o'clock tonight. Um, Tell Hunter or Nick or anybody who else wants to join to jump on. And thank you all for watching again at 2 o'clock. Hope that you've enjoyed this update, and we'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock.
All right.
Hold on, let me end this
Yeah.
recording.